Hey friends, Rick from BCW Supplies here with the FAB Breakdown. In this week's episode, we're going to be breaking down the Battle Hardened event that took place at SCG Con in Philadelphia this past weekend on February 13th, as well as a deck tech on Dash, Inventor Extraordinaire. This is the deck that I'm planning on playing in my ProQuest this Saturday. So just going to show you what I'm playing, my thoughts on it, a couple of different packages, and why I think Dash might secretly be in a good spot for the current meta. All right, so let's talk about the Battle Hardened event. There were just under 115 players for the Battle Hardened event, out of which we saw 22 Bravo Star of the Shows registered for that event, being the most registered hero for the event. We also saw 14 Viserais registered. We saw 13 or 12 Prisms registered. So I don't have the numbers in front of me right now, but I will put it up here on the screen so you can see. I believe it was 13 Viserais registered. So those were the three big decks that we expected to see going into the event. They were the ones that everybody had talked about being the early forerunners for the Classic Constructed meta post Everfest. However, I was shocked to see 11 Katsus registered. Katsu was putting up some good numbers, some good work there at the higher tables in round 4 and 5. So the deck's got legs as well. It can apply a ton of pressure. The new combo lines look amazing. I'm going to do a little bit more digging into Katsu as the season progresses. But right now, I'm just going to cover the top 8 for that event. And as you guessed it, we had 5 Bravo Star of the Shores make the top 8. We had 2 chain. Now, I do want to point out there were only 6 chains that were entered and 2 of them made the top 8. So that is a wonderful conversion rate for the decks that entered. I think chain is in a great position. I know Tarek Patel and Rob Seigel have talked about it in their video series, and Tarek has posted the deck list that he's planning on playing in his ProQuest this weekend as well. So if you're looking for that information, check out Channel Fireball or follow Tarek Patel on social media. I believe that is Tarek Patel 10 on Twitter. So, but he's got a lot of good information for chain. I tend to agree with him. I mean, he is the U.S. national champion after all, but overall, he has a great head for the meta and looking at what is coming. I am going to stick to my guns, though. I think Dash is going to be secretly positioned well. I feel confident in that matchup in most of the major matchups, with the exception being the Starvo or Bravo Star of the Show deck. I've changed my sideboard from what I was playing at SCG Con's Battle Hardened event to be more accommodating, I believe, to that matchup. A couple of games tested in, I feel like the deck's running a little bit better. It is a close matchup. It really depends on what attacks they hit and how often they are able to activate Bravo's ability as to whether or not I'm able to attack it through my game plan, and we'll talk about that as we go through the deck. The Viserai deck is absolutely amazing. It is putting up some phenomenal numbers, and there's a lot of people covering that deck as well. Prism is doing some ridiculous things. Just to be honest, Prism has a couple of different ways that she can be built. A very aggressive Herald or Phantasm attack line, as well as the Auras package. The new blue Auras do a phenomenal job of providing speed bumps. And also they have a great synergy in protecting or in making your attacks better than they are on face value. And those attacks were already good to begin with. So Prism, be on the lookout for those. I think you're definitely going to need to be prepared for Bravo, Prism, Chain, and Viserai. Briar still looking around there as we saw one make the top 8. It is the Channel Mount Heroic hybrid build. It's running a lot of the zero cost attacks and then using things like red Bramble Sparks, yellow Bramble Sparks, Channel Mount Heroic in order to boost those attacks. So their damage is really starting to stack up and they're getting go again off either the attacks or by playing 2 non-attack actions. So Briar not dead yet, and I think that deck is still got some legs. So good news all around. I do want to give a shout out to whoever registered Kano at the event. We saw that there was one Kano player there. I don't know who was playing it. I don't know how they did, but I did get to see some of the damage Kano was putting out over the weekend and some of the side events, and it terrifies me. I'm letting you know right now, just my personal opinion, if you're not respecting the Wizard matchup in your sideboard by having Arcane Barrier at least 3, you're setting yourself up to get burned out by Kano. The damage is real. I think that it's something that every hero needs to make room for and have enough blues to kind of fend off the Kano pressure. A lot of times Kano is going to try and sculpt their deck and go off at the point in time where you're presenting lethal if you're an aggressive deck. So do not overextend. Make sure you're holding one card back or you're floating some resources to try and reduce some of that initial damage, because it's just going to create a layering effect with some of the new cards out of Everfest. Just a free tip, not really what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about Dash, but before we get into that, let's have a word from our sponsor, the folks at BCW Supplies. Hey friends, Rick from BCW here with this product highlight. We're talking about the Mini Snap from BCW. This is a nice way to protect your legendaries and cold foils, whether they're rainbow foil, out of print legendaries, whether you have a special hero that is a cold foil promo that you have won or gotten at an event. These are absolutely amazing, and I want to show you why I love the BCW Mini Snap. It's going to require me to show you this product here. It's a twofer, 2 products in one video. This is actually the BCW Deck Vault 200. It's a little bit taller, and it comes on the interior with 3 drawers. The top drawer and the bottom drawer are perfect for holding sleeved cards, or in this case, mini snaps. So you can just pull out the full mini snaps. We have the center one here. The center one is absolutely perfect for holding dice. And then we have the bottom one that's going to hold your deck. And the mini snaps do fit into this deck box, so you can have your hero in a mini snap, or maybe you have something like this, a cold foil that was a promo card, kind of hard to come by depending on where you're at regionally. I like to try and protect these cards. A lot of the rainbow foils are out of print, so I want to keep them as nice as I can, but I still want to be able to use them. So I am using my BCW Deck Vault 200 in partnership with the BCW Mini Snap card holders, and this is going to allow me to protect my more valuable cards and transport everything all in one box, which is perfect for going to a large event like a ProQuest or a Calling. I want to be able to keep everything with me. I want to be organized, and I want it to be safe. This fits nicely into a backpack. Grab a pen, grab some paper, and you're off to the races. Now let's go ahead and get into the Dash deck tech. All right, so here we go with Dash Inventor Extraordinaire. That's not the first time I've done a Dash video, but she is my favorite hero to play. This is the adult version for Intellect 40 Health, and you can start with a Mechanologist equipment item in play that costs 2 or less. Normally it's going to be Induction Chamber, and some of the other matchups like the Guardian matchups, you're going to want to start with the Plasma Purifier. We'll get more into that in just a minute. The weapon of choice is going to be my Cold Foil Teklo Plasma Pistol. This is just the best weapon for Dash. It's going to help apply some pressure. You're able to buff it with some of the items. As an action, you remove a steam counter from it, and you can attack with a pistol. It has another ability in action, spend 1 resource. If there's no steam counter on the Teklo Plasma Pistol, you can put a steam counter on it. It has go again. So standard affair so far. We're also looking at running the Arcanite Skull Cap as the headpiece. It's just the best for blocking. And we have the Teklo Foundry Heart. Now this is actually going to use this card's ability in this matchup, or in some of the matchups when you're being a little bit more aggressive. If you have boosted, you can spend 1 resource, banish the top 2 cards of your deck. If they're Mechanologist cards, you get a resource for each card that was banished. So you want to make sure you're running low generic count when you start activating this. It does have Battle Worn. It does stick around. It blocks for 2, then blocks for 1. Just like the Skull Cap, blocking for 2 if you have less life than blocking for 1. So that's crucial. We're running the Goliath Gauntlets as our main piece of equipment here for the hands. This is basically just destroy it, and your next attack that costs 2 or greater gains +2, go again. You're really wanting to use this on something like a Command and Conquer, in my personal opinion, or a Red Throttle. So you'll see those as we go through the deck. When it comes to the boots, Dash has a phenomenal pair of mechanologist boots. They are the Achilles accelerators. As an instant speed, you can destroy these if you have boosted an attack this turn. You gain an action point, and it destroys these. They also have Arcane Barrier 1 on them, which is great for any of the Rune Blade matchups that are chipping in damage with Rune Chant. You don't have to change your package in order to have an Arcane Barrier 1. Your equipment naturally has it. Speaking of Arcane Barrier, the next two pieces really are just for Arcane Barrier. So we have the Null Rune Gloves. Now, a lot of times in the Viscerai matchup or in the Chain matchup, I'm going to run these with my accelerators because I'm also going to be slanted, slightly more aggressive in those matchups. And if I have to pop the accelerators in order to gain an action point back, I still want to have some Arcane Barrier. Also, against the Wizard, like I said, I respect Wizard. This will get me up to 2 Arcane Barrier. And finally, the last piece is the Visiotronic Model I headpiece. This is really just here for Arcane Barrier 2. This is just for Kano. It's going to put Dash up to an Arcane Barrier 4, which is a phenomenal place to be into the Kano matchup. And having Arcane Barrier 4 with a lot of blues in the deck just give you the ability to stave off some of that arcane damage and really apply pressure with your cards and then be able to defend out with pitching your blues to the Arcane Barrier. So this is all I'm running here. We have these pieces of equipment, and let's go ahead and get into the core part of the deck. The cards that you're going to be playing in your main deck, we're going to start, and we're going to go through this by color, really, because I think it's going to be a little bit better for you to see the cards that we're playing. Now, my core deck is going to make up the cards I really don't want to ever take out of the deck, so we're going to be playing 3 red zipper hits, and we're going to be playing 3 red 0 to 60s for our red cards. Just staple mechanologist cards that allow you to be a little bit aggressive. The zipper hit cost 1, comes in for 5 with boost. The 0 to 60 cost 0, comes in for 4 with boost, and the red slot. Then we're going to go down to the yellows. We're going to be running 3 of the yellow zippers and 3 of the yellow zeros. We're also going to be running 3 Spark of Genius yellow. This card is absolutely phenomenal. You really hope to see something like this in your first turn, especially if you get to go first. You want to open up by adding to your Tecloplasma pistol. So you're going to start with a piece of equipment. If you can get one of these in your hand, especially if you're going first, you don't want to attack. You don't want to give your opponent a chance to get some bad cards out of their hand by blocking with them. You can just pitch for, go get another piece to your weapon, whether it's the Plasma Purifier or the Induction Chamber matchup, depending, and really just start setting up some aggression for your second turn. And also allow you to arsenal a card. Absolutely don't want to cut it. It's also a non-attack action that blocks for 3, so it's good in a lot of matchups. So these are the reds, these are the yellows, and I'm going to clear these out of the way because when we get into the blues, there's a ton. Again, this deck is really wanting to be able to block out efficiently and then wanting to be able to spend the blues to load and shoot the pistol. So we're running the Overloop blue, we're running the Lock and Load blue, we're running the blue zipper hit, we're running the blue throttles, we're running blue 0 for 60s, we're running the new card Payload in blue, and we're running the T-Bones new card also out of Everfest in blue. So right here we have 7 different cards that we're running 3 of, so we have 21 blues that stay in the deck at all times. This is a little low by comparison to the blue count I used to run. I used to always run 24, but because of some of the new cards, I've had to make room and I took it out of here. So a notable card that's missing is Magnetic Shockwave. You could really replace that, the Payload for that, but I was testing out the Payload. I really like Payload. It's a 2 cost 4 damage card, so you can use the gauntlets with it if you want. But if you've boosted this turn, it has Dominate. It's a nice way to force through some damage at the end of a chain. T-Bone is a nice card because it's a 0 cost that has boost. It comes in for 1. The ability isn't that great. They just have to block with a piece of equipment if you've boosted, and they can block with a piece of equipment that doesn't block at all, really, and it doesn't break anything. So it's just a 0 cost boost card. It helps with some of our aggression plans, which we'll get into. The Overloop, again, it's a 2 for 3. It does have boost, which is important, and if Overloop hits, you can put it on the bottom of your deck when the chain closes. Typically, I'm just pitching with this or blocking with this. It's a 3. Zipper hit, blue, zipper hit, or 0 to 60 blue. Both of these are just weaker versions of the red and the yellows that are in the deck. They're really good for aggression turns. They're good for go wide, but really you can get more damage out of both of these cards by loading and shooting the pistol and the induction chambers. Then we have the throttle blue. Now this card is something that I have played and do play. It is a 2-for-4 that has boost. It's just a nice way to come in towards the end. I'm going to pitch this early for my second cycle. And I'm going to be looking to play something like this or payload towards the end of the game when I'm just trying to whittle them down. I'm trying to strip cards out of their hand. I'm trying to force through another pistol shot, something of that nature. These are great for that. Lock and Load is a non-attack action card. It does buff a attack by 1. If you've boosted, you get to opt 1. But really, it's a non-attack action card in case you're running into Bolton decks. You want to have a fair number of non-attack action cards in the deck to prevent his ability from triggering and getting plus damage on his attacks. In the past, I would run 2 other cards called Pour the Mold Blue. I'd run 2 of those, but currently the list is very tight, and I've had to cut them for some other defense reactions you'll see here in just a little bit. So this is the core of the deck. This is what I'm always starting with. So now let's go ahead and get into the different packages. All right, so the core of the deck is 36 cards, and we're looking at bringing in some number of other cards. Actually, we're looking to bring in 24 or 25 cards, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. So we are talking about the Fate for Scenes, we have Sink Belows, we have Unmovables in both red and also in yellow. Now, these are the defense reaction packages that we have access to in this deck. I'm just going to be honest. These are for Bravo Star of the Show. The yellows I'll bring in for Prism. These are also for Oldham if he is present at the ProQuest, or the original Bravo. Dorinthia, there's a case I can make to bring these in against Dorinthia. I don't think I'm going to bring all of them in, but I could bring some of these in. I haven't seen Dorinthia to really test against yet, but I know Dorinthia is out there. The reason why I'm bringing these in that matchup is because I need to be somewhat aggressive. I need them to start caring about blocking because I'm threatening their life total. Dash can do that with the boost mechanic, but I can't overload with a bunch of defense reactions into my deck. That being said, the Sink Belows and Fate for Scenes are more for the go wide aggressive decks like the Viserai, like Katsu, like a Dash Mirror, if you will, Chain even. I want these cards in and not these. So this is my line of thinking. I will bring these in matchups where I am going to go, I'm expecting my opponent to go wide, and these I'm bringing in when I expect them to go tall in their attacks. Okay. All right, the next card up is Dissolution Sphere. Dissolution Sphere is absolutely amazing. It comes in with a steam counter on it at the beginning of your action phase. Destroy Dissolution Sphere unless you remove a steam counter from it. Whenever a hero would be dealt exactly 1 damage, prevent it. This card is amazing with all those rune chants out there out of Viserai. This card is absolutely amazing. If they're trying to set up an OTK turn and you can land one of these, they're just going to continue to have to set up. They're also great against Prism because they stop the aura spam, the shields from coming in for 1, as well as their yellows that can be pitched if they're playing Library. They don't block, but they are absolutely amazing. I bring 2 in against Prism, and I bring all 3 in against Viserai 100% of the time. So I was only playing 2 in Philadelphia, and I really wish I'd been playing 3, especially facing Viserai 3 times. So absolutely love this card. That's what it's in there for. I'm playing 1 yellow Remembrance. This card is in there for matchups that I'm worried about them being able to destroy my equipment. So we're talking about things like Og Smash. We're talking about the new generic non-attack action card. This card is absolutely amazing at being able to get those equipments back. It also works really well into the Viserai matchup when you need more Dissolution Spheres. If you're just trying to keep them at bay, you can shuffle them back in. Spark of Genius can also go find them. Just a heads up on that. So now we're going to talk about what I consider the basic equipment package that is going to be in the deck most of the time. That is double induction chamber, double purifier, and double Teklo core. Now, the Teklo cores come out if I am being more defensive. So into the Bravo Star of the show, these do not block, they come out. In fact, in that matchup, I do something a little odd. I only run one purifier and one induction chamber. And that's because I need room in the deck for all the defense reactions I'm going to be bringing in, as well as the aggressive package that I'm bringing in. You could make a case to say you need 2 induction chambers, but really the problem, any of the heroes that have access to the Rampart and Crown of Seed is just a pain for you to get pistol damage through. You do want to start with the Plasma Purifier. You're not trying to go again because every time you reload, they get to reset the shield and they get to block with it again, put more resources into it again. The math gets really hard as far as trying to squeak damage through, and I'd rather just do it with a bunch of go-agains and then fire the pistol at the end. So that's just my line of thinking. Play around with it, try it your way. I will say what I like has been working for me. Now we're into a little bit more of the aggressive package, and that is going to be running the high speed impact ×2, the red throttles, the high octanes, and the Tome of Fiendel, as well as 2 maximum velocities. Now, in the past, maximum velocity was really just only in the deck for the Prism matchup. It's still in there for the Prism matchup, but because of T-Bone, we now have the ability to really play this card. So I like to have it in the deck when I'm being aggressive. High speed impact is a 1-cost 4 that boosts, and my next attack will gain dominate. Next attack that boosts gains dominate. Red throttle's in here for Prism or being aggressive. It is a chunky boy. It costs 2, comes in for 6, and it has boost. So you're going to get a 2 for 6 with go again when you're in the aggressive build. High Octane is the non-attack action card that allows you to draw a card, and then anytime you boost, you get an action point. This is great against Prism. This is great into just pumping a lot of damage through the pistol without having to use the induction chamber. There's a lot of neat plays you can do with this, one of them being the Tome of Fiendel. Basically, starting with this, playing a 0-cost card from your hand that allows you to boost, and then you play Tome of Fiendel with the go again. You still have the action point back. You get to draw 2 cards. You gain however many life you have for cards in your hand, and you're really going wide on that turn. So super nice little combo here. It's a great way to just pump damage or use Tome of Fiendel. And it's also the turns where you're probably going to be able to get maximum velocity off. So that's what's in there. That's why that's in there. And then finally, we're playing 3 Command and Conquers. Don't leave home without them. It's kind of my mentality right now. 1, you're going to face some Rangers more than likely. Azalea's looking pretty good. Lexi's still strong. So you're going to need to be able to deal with arsenals. You have decks that want to set up using their arsenals. I'm talking about the Boltons. I'm talking about the OTK Viserais. So you definitely want ways to interact with or threaten on hit effects. Forcing your opponents to block is very important. No, we can't give it dominate, but you can pop the gauntlets, make it come in for 8. Now they're having to commit typically 3 cards to blocking, leaving 1 card in their hand. If you can do that kind of pressure and they're trying to protect the card in their arsenal, they're taking the next turn off. So now you're able to come back in with even more pressure. So I like to bait with this, and what I mean by bait with it is it's something I like to play at the very end of whatever I'm doing, whether I'm just firing pistol, giving the pistol go again, coming in with an attack with boost, and then being able to come in with the Command and Conquer. A lot of times people won't see this coming in at the end, especially if I can pop Goliath Gauntlets into it. They don't have enough cards to block if they blocked anything else, and I'm able to get their arsenal plus most of the cards out of their hand or all the cards out of their hand. So it's a cute little play that you can do with that. you can head on over to bcwsupplies.com, pick up some mini snaps, some deck vaults, or any other hobby collectible needs that you have, and use the code FAB Breakdown at checkout to save 10% on your order and help out the channel. Until next time, friends, this has been Rick with BCW Supplies, reminding you when it comes to protecting, storing, displaying, or letting you play with your hobbies or collectibles, BCW has you covered.